started, we're just going to scoop up a big ball of energy from the earth, taking a deep breath. This is called an opening breath, bringing the ball of energy up and grabbing more energy from the heavens and bringing the energy down, pushing it, imagine pushing it down as we exhale and collect some as much as we can in the dantian area, which is just below the belly button and about 2 or 3 inches toward the back of the spine. That's where it's thought that chi energy is stored and then distributed to the rest of the body, the rest of the meridians in the body as necessary. So once again, breathe in, up, turn over and come down. Okay, let's raise the hands up, outstretched, turning the palms up, push down. One more time. Coming up, pulling in, breathing in, pushing out, exhale. Form a ball, open the ball up, all the way back, stretch. Push to forward, holding a ball. Feel the energy of the ball, feel the resistance. Pull in again. Push, exhale. Expand. Contract. Pull. Push. Pull. Push. Pull in. Push out. Stretch. Relax. And come down. So this is a good time to mention something that I recently discovered. I've been seriously taking golf up and taking some courses. And in the courses that I'm taking, they have drills that force you to go to the extremes of the swing or whatever it is you're doing. Neither of which is proper, but by exploring the extremes of things, you get to have your body develops a feeling for what is natural and right. And so this is a theory that just came up recently, a few years ago. There have been books written about it. That is a process for learning and getting better at things by examining the extremes and tuning in and titrating back to the center. And so here's a good example of in Tai Chi, this would be considered, this is Qigong, so we're doing this for exercise, stretch, right? But in Tai Chi, since it has practical applicabilities, right, martial intent, we would never be in a situation where we would expose our vulnerability to this extent when we open. And by the same token, we would not want to close too far either, because that puts us in a vulnerable position of being wrapped up and controlled in the opposite direction. And so one thing that I've been thinking about is you can use the Qigong exercise as a way to get in touch with the limits that you want to impose when you're doing practicing or training in a martial art. Because the extremes don't feel right. They don't feel right. So just keep that in mind. If it's useful, fine. If not, just don't worry about it. And we come down. But you'll notice that in all these routines, you go through extremes of in the opposite direction of stretching and relaxing. Okay, every single one of these exercises. So here we rotate the hands in opposite directions and push up and down as far as possible. So we can always come back to this relaxed, empty state. In Tai Chi, all of these, and Qigong, all of these movements are a metaphor for life, for how it is in life. Always testing the extremes and then finding a comfortable center point. That's neither in one direction or the other. And once again, if it feels good, it's probably right. And open and close. Okay, now rotating the hands in opposite directions. We're going to block down and turn and look to the other side. Now, the purpose of these exercises is primarily to stretch the tendons and the joints. And what it's doing is it's allowing you to develop a greater range in movement. Or a greater range of movement.
Sifu, there was a question regarding when we're breathing in or out. Can you give some advice on that, please?
Sure. Generally, the rule in Qigong, not so in Tai Chi. I'll explain that. In Qigong, the rule is when you stretch, you breathe in, and when you come back to a relaxed state, independent of the direction, right? There are three directions: the horizontal plane, the vertical plane, and the vertical plane, and the tangential plane or sagittal plane. Is when you come back to a relaxed state, you exhale. All right, thank you for that. All right, so this is obviously stretching. So what would that be? An inhale and exhale, and inhale to the other side, and exhale. And there are two types of breathing that go along with this. One is just natural breathing, but try to let your belly expand in and out with the breath, if you can. And the other is called, that's called Buddha breathing or natural breathing. And the other, I've mentioned this before, is called Taoist breathing or reverse breathing. And in that kind of breathing, it's actually easier, is you don't think about expanding your belly in and out as you breathe. You just think about tightening your perineum on the inhale and then relaxing it on the exhale. And so you just focus your attention on that part of your anatomy as you inhale and exhale. And that's actually very good exercise for the organs, group of organs in the groin area, including the bladder. So, try that now. Inhale, tighten. Exhale, relax. Inhale, tighten. Exhale, relax. So on and so forth. And open and close. All right, good. And thank you for those questions. Holding the ball, I like to start with this ball motif because it mimics, it's the open and closed movement. in the set that indicates or suggests a change in direction of the form in the set. But it's nice, it's a nice thing to do in the Qigong because you're going from one exercise to another type of exercise using exercising, often is the case, a different part of your body. And this kind of resets your energy and gives you a chance to just relax, to breathe in and out, and mimics the movement of your lungs. So it's very natural when you breathe in to kind of expand and breathe out and contract. If you try it the other way, is contract as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, expand. It just, to me, it just doesn't feel right. So as you breathe in, the natural the feel would be to open your hands as your lung, to complement the opening of your lungs. And as you exhale and the lungs collapse with the exhale, the hands collapse. And that gets you centered, at least me. It gets me centered for the next exercise, which is simply going to be rotating the ball. And I like to play with balls. That's why I like golf. And let's see how symmetrical you can make your control, this movement of turning the ball around. And this takes some mental effort. And we come back to one side and then pull to that side, following the motion or direction of the fingers. And now let's rotate out and push to one side and to the other side. As you push to one side, you sink into your chair with your other hip, the hip of the other side. Pushing your left, I'm sinking into my chair on the right side, and the same on the other side. Now, when you do that, it's easy to feel this if you move your hands. If you push on your right cheek as you push to the left, and then as you turn, you transfer your weight as you're turning to the left side, the left cheek as you push down. If you lift your legs off the chair, you can really feel this. And if you exaggerate that feeling of pushing down into your chair, you get exactly the same feeling when you do Tai Chi in the standing position using your legs. Grounding, pushing into the ground, using the ground path, the path of the ground into your body to help generate the force in these movements. And it's more challenging sitting down than standing up, which makes it, to me, more interesting. So just exaggerate as you turn, pushing down in the other direction. Because if I were pushing something and I didn't have any structure in the kind of structure I'm talking about into the chair, as I push, my body would just go to the side. I'd push here, my body would push in the other side. We want to maintain our postures always in an upright position. And to do that, we use the ground. In this case, the ground being our buttock pressing into the chair, using the chair as our legs. So we're just replacing the chair legs with our legs using the body. And so that makes chair Tai Chi a whole, a complete system, not a half system, but a complete system. Feel that pushing from one side to the other. And when you do this, you'll feel a lot more power and control. You just stay with this for a while. It doesn't matter what movement you're using. And you'll notice something else. You'll notice that as you move, your qua, which is the this area here in Chinese, it's qua. I guess it's the groin. The groin area is you're opening and closing. You're opening and closing your qua as you do this. By pressing and pushing, you're opening and closing the qua, and that's a very important way to get more out of it, to get more force in or movement, or more force into the movement. Does that make sense? All right, good. If you're standing up, it's the same thing. You're pushing into the ground as you as you move from one side to the other. I'm pushing into the ground as I push to the side. So the force is from the ground up through the torso into the side. And it's actually a circular motion from the ground up, using that ground path. And sometimes you can step from side to side and turn it into a hip exercise. If you do it this way, you get a chance to exercise the muscles in the hip and joint and around the joint. And you could do that sitting down, I suppose, by if you push to one side by stepping out to the side, all right? If you can do this, try it. Stepping out to the side, and you get that nice stretch in the joint, the hip joint. And it's gentle. Don't go too far with this, but play around with it. Step and push. Step and push. Step and push. Step and push. And don't lean. Try not to lean as you're pushing. For one thing, it'll screw your back up. You can feel it. If you step out on one side and push and lean like this, you're going to feel a lot of tension in your back versus just doing this. And that's one reason why staying upright in Tai Chi, especially when using it for martial purposes, is really important. Any questions? All right. So let's move on. Let's bring make two fists, bring the fist back to your waist, heart of the fist up, and we rotate out and punch and kick. Now this is contralateral, opposite hands and foot. So the palm rotates around 180 degrees. It's a torsional movement. Either raise your leg up straight, which is a toe kick, or raise your knee up and kick out, which is with your heel. So the breathing, by the way, the breathing in Tai Chi is you generally, at least for beginners and intermediates, you don't really worry about your breathing, because in Tai Chi, the movements themselves, the form will automatically prompt you to breathe in to either inhale or exhale. So in a way, it comes just kind of natural with the movement. But generally, if I'm going to reach out, if let's just take any movement. Let's say you're going to bring your hands down and push somebody really hard. You're going to take a breath in, right? And as you push, you're going to exhale. And if you really want to add some energy to it, you're going to let that breath out in an explosive way. Same with brush knee. If you do brush knee and my intent is to block and strike, I'm going to, as I wind up, I'm going to take a breath. It's natural for me to take a breath because I know the next thing I want to do, my intent is to release energy. And it helps if I exhale as I deliver that force. Chad might want to add something to this discussion. Chad, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Since you asked, I think the thing is that regardless of whether you're sitting or standing, there's also the mind or the mental intention, and I think that's a major proponent of what we're doing as well, because as we learn more of the forms and more of the exercises, there's no movement, Shifu, without thought. So when you combine mind or thought with the breath, right, we're always kind of one step behind to go forward. So I definitely think the breathing is a major proponent of this, regardless of whether you're standing or sitting. And I think in a way it originates in the breath and in the breathing and being balanced. So I am in agreement with you on that for sure.
Right, that's great. That's good input. And you know, all of this really comes from you have a feeling that you have a feeling for doing something. A need, right? It's a feeling. It generates a need generates a feeling, and then the feeling transforms into an intent. And all of this, as Chad is saying, is mind driven before you even do anything. And that automatically sets you up for taking a breath in. And your body is doing something really very natural, because it's very natural to harness energy before you deliver it. And way we harness energy is to bring oxygen into our bodies, right? And then let it out. And this cycle repeats throughout the throughout the set. So if you and it's something that comes naturally with practice, and that's why we practice it, and that's why we do it slowly, so we can get our mind, so we can allow ourselves to take these feelings and do something useful with them. And if we go too fast, we kind of mess things up, right? Okay, so and if you do it enough, after a while, you don't even think about it. It becomes totally natural and intuitive. And that's where we want to be. Okay. So let's just continue with this. And you know the drill. We're going to go down to the floor and we're going to work on the ankle. And today, let's just lift the ankle. And today, usually we put the foot down and we rock, we put the toe down and rock the heel back and forth, and we put the foot down and rock from side to side. But let's do some rotations, clockwise rotations this time. And now let's go back the other way. And now the other foot. If you want, you can, like I'm doing, I'm holding my leg up so I can isolate kind of isolate the movement, make it more comfortable to do. Try to get as much range in motion as you can. And now the other way, counterclockwise.
Sifu, what would you do or recommend for people that might not have the ability of moving their feet? How could they benefit from an exercise like this?
That's an interesting question. My impulse is to say that you would let your mind imagine that you're doing the movement and try to do the movement. It might be imperceptible. Imperceptible, is that the right word, Chad? I mean, you might not see anything happening, but the intent is there. See if you can apply an intent to it. And see if you can feel a movement in your legs. I mean, now I'm stepping into unknown territory for me, all right? So I'm open to suggestions. Anybody want to comment on that? I suppose you could also do rotations with your, if you can use your leg, you can do whole leg rotations. And if you
If
can't,
it helps, I have been paralyzed in my legs, and I find that that's still helpful to just use the intent.
visualization, yeah.
No, feeling it. It's
You
just
see,
not
okay.
moving, but you can still feel it. You can still make the contact, and I still feel that that there's benefit without the final result. The outcome doesn't have to be physical movement to get the benefit.
Okay, that's good. Good input. Thank you for that. Sometimes
Because between your mind and your ankle is a lot of body, right? A lot of networks, a lot of connections, and they are still being activated even without you making the outcome be the movement of the particular body part.
okay. I don't know. I'm going to throw this out. What if you did the same thing with your hands? Would that be that feeling transfer to
That would have been
foot?
my second suggestion. Because when you do, for example, if someone does ballet, they instead of doing the leg movements, you're doing the same movements with the arm.
Okay, good. Good. I think that's valuable feedback.
Ralph, could
I
you
made that up.
explain what you were doing? Could you explain what you were doing with your hands just now?
Well, this is an exercise to develop eye-hand coordination. So one is the mirror image of the other, and you're doing it at the same time. So if you so it's a way of kind of developing, improving dexterity. I had this Tai Chi master showed me that, and when I first started doing it, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, and it really bugged me. So I practiced for a long time, and now I can do it without even thinking, even if I don't do it for months. So to me, that's proof that this kind of stuff is lasting. It's not something you do and you go, and then you go about your work, your daily routine, and then you have to start all over next Tuesday. What is it? Tuesday at 9 o'clock. All of this, the machinations we go through here become lasting, have lasting effects in my mind, at least if you practice them. All right. Okay, so you know what? Good, doing good on time. Okay, so I wanted to go back to Bagua a little bit. So I was thinking about this morning. And we did at least 3 movements, Bagua movements. So there are 8 what they call palm changes, or 8 ways to use your arms and your hands to accomplish something in Bagua, the art of Bagua, which is to defend yourself. And they're called palm changes. And the first one is called single palm change, and that turns out to be the quintessential movement, single palm change. And for some schools, that's all they ever learn is single palm change, and then they learn how to use that in all types of applications. So I thought it might just be interesting to do the single palm change, to practice that. We've learned it before. Most of you have probably been exposed to it in one of my classes, or not, or a few of my classes. And if you haven't, well, this is a good opportunity to learn it. So, so Bagua is one of these kind of more esoteric internal Chinese martial arts, but it's becoming a lot more popular. But yet, even in the Bay Area, there were only, I knew of only 2 people that did it. One guy wasn't even teaching it anymore, and the other people there were like maybe 3 or 4 people, one teacher, and then 3 or 4 disciples, and this sort of thing. And so what it is Bagua means 8 trigrams, and you can think of the trigrams formed around the circumference of a circle. And it's simply what it is whereas Tai Chi is you're working conceptually, you are in the middle of a circle, defending your position in the middle of that circle from threats on the outside of the circle. Bagua has a very different feeling. Bagua is you're walking around the perimeter of a circle, defending yourself from a potential threat from the inside of the circle. And you're deftly switching positions, going clockwise and counterclockwise as you move your hands in various positions. Okay, so for single palm change, so when there's a, excuse me, there are different schools of Bagua. They all involve circle walking with different ways of stepping. But they all involve holding the hands in this position, facing toward the middle of the circle. So there's one hand extended out toward the middle of the circle. Who was that movie? I'm not into this kind of thing, but one of these what is it, superhero movies where this guy had his hand like this, and he had some kind of an energy ball that he would jump out of this thing. You guys know what I'm talking about? Probably not. I forgot that character, Doctor something or other. Anyway, the idea is you hold your hand facing the threat, using this hand as a kind of a lever. So this hand is, first of all, starts out as a lever, and then it can be used to grab or push or do other things. But its purpose is that of feeling what's going on in that area. And the other hand is down here protecting your torso, which could be your groin, the short ribs, the heart, or even the face by bringing the hand up. So this is sort of like the ready position in Bagua. And you walk the circle holding your hands out facing this existential, either real or existential threat in the middle of the circle. And to initiate the single palm change, what you do is you turn the palm over and turn this palm over and step around and push under and change the hands and then turn them over to the other side. Okay. So what's going on here is if a strike comes in, depending on which arm, left or right, it's coming from, you parry by turning the hand over, pushing that strike aside. All right. So that involves turning the hand over and parrying across, which puts you in a position on the blind side to step around with the right foot in back, put this hand under here, and then apply this motion, twisting, turning motion around the waist to throw the person over your leg, because your leg is trapped, your leg is in back of them. I don't know if that comes across. So if I were standing up, I'd be like this, and I'd block across like this, step around, and then in back of them, and then throw them over this leg. And all it involves is just simply this motion, which is a circular motion, again, spiraling force, using the waist to drive the energy, all right? And you don't need to be a particularly strong person or even big person to do that quite effectively. Because if you practice this move, you can throw anybody over. I don't care how big they are, using almost no effort. And there's a saying in Tai Chi, the Chinese translation is, but 4 ounces defeats 1,000 pounds. I think it's something like that. And it's pretty, it may be an extreme extreme statement, but to some extent it's really true. It all depends on your skill level and how you apply that force properly. So there are other things you can do as well. You can block this way. So this hand is already out there, and anything coming in, it can block very easily. This hand is here to protect yourself, all right? Or you can block this way. So if it comes over in this direction, you wouldn't reach around and do this. You would do this. And that's the same. It's a temple block, really, but you reach up here, you intercept or deflect that. Now you're in a position to grab a wrist, and you have this hand here free to strike in different ways, all right? Or to just pull that person in and push them over to the left. So now you're pushing them over to the left, to this side, and that would be called a double palm change, which is a whole different thing. But anyway, what you do is you learn 8 palm changes, walking the circle in both directions, and then you learn how to put together these palm changes in routines called continuous forms, which then teaches you how to develop and do the applications. So it's a very sophisticated system. I'm not that sure about the history of it. I don't know how much is known about it. It was kind of a secret art, kept secret for many years. And I've heard some people say that even what do you call it, preamps, or that it's actually even older than Tai Chi, and that Tai Chi has its roots in Bagua. Bagua is a Taoist kind of tradition. And it's very interesting, and I encourage you to go online and look. So there are different schools. The school that I learned from is called the what is it? The dragon form. So it's called dragon form Tai Chi, Bagua. And in this case, the hands use this motif. Like you make a talons like a dragon has. Other forms are more relaxed, like this. But in any case, doesn't matter. The point is that all of the forms, all of the styles use this starting point. So anyway, with that introduction, let's practice the single palm change, okay? And then you'll get a feel for that movement. Now, I wanted to explain the intent of the movement so that you can get an idea of what the feeling is. So last week, we were talking about the connection between feelings and intent and manifestations of an event, of a feeling and intent. So if I just said, well, let's do a single palm change, and I told you how to do it, you'd be moving your arms and you'd be kind of feeling perhaps a bit uncomfortable and confused and wondering why you were doing it. So now you have a feeling, I hope, for what the move is all about. So let's go ahead and do it. And since we're not standing, we're going to modify this for the sitting position. we're going to hold the hands out to the side rather than to the front. And we're going to go from one side to the other. All right. So we're going to start on the left side. All right. Don't do this like I just did. Sit up straight. All right. The first thing we're going to do is turn both palms over. All right. Then I'm going to reach under my armpit really close, push back, turning at the waist, and then changing the hands, pulling in and out, and then up and over to the other side. And as I come up to the over side, I push this right hand out now, and I pull the left hand down into my dragon posture. All right, everyone with me? Going to the left side, turn the palms over, push under the armpit, back, extend the hands up 45 degrees, pull and push, come over to the other side, back to the other starting position on the other side. Turn the palms over, thrust back, change, over. Single palm change. Turn the palms over, thrust back, change to the other side. And let's just keep going. Now let's add some structure to it. Relax. One, two, three, four. And relax. Take that breath. Exhale. All right, good. So doing this, if I were doing this standing up, it wouldn't be much different. And for those of you that want or can or want to practice it standing up, you would use this Bagua Stance. So you'd put the left foot out, with the heel on the circumference of an imaginary circle, and with the toe pointing in, you put the back heel on the circumference of the imaginary circle, pointing out from the center of the circle. This is actually a very stable position to be in. And I would walk the circle. And when I get back to taking 8 steps, I would step out again with the left foot, hook step over, turn the palms over, and as I thrust under, I would step out and switch and go back to this side. And walk the circle, 8 steps, 8 trigrams, left foot out, right foot out, left foot back, right toe pointing toward the inside of the circle, left toe pointing to the outside of the circle. As I step around, I turn the palms over, hook step around, step in the opposite direction, thrust, and come back to the other side. So there you have it. You've just learned that single palm change, which I say is really the quintessential movement in Bagua. Okay, any questions about that? So practice this. They're mirror images of each other. It's just done the same thing done in 2 directions. All right. So let's move on to Sun Style. And got about 10 minutes left. So I think the timing is pretty good today in terms of getting everything I want to to talk about done here. And so we're going to talk about, we're going to do the set. We're going to go through the set. And we are, let's see, at a point where I think we started learning, we actually learned leisurely tying the coat in the other direction, from the reverse direction from the way we did it in the first half. And that move came after Repulse the Monkey, and in two directions, followed by a brush knee, followed by leisurely tying the coat, and which brings us close to the end of the form. And so we're going to go through the form and practice a few times, go through and practice leisurely tying the coat to kind of get that down a little bit more. You already know how to do it pretty well from the original position side, the first side, but sometimes it's a little confusing and sometimes even harder to learn it in the other direction because you're used to doing it in one direction. So your mind, you're not learning it as you don't have a child's open mind about it. You have a kind of biased feeling for how it should be, and then all of a sudden you got to turn around and do it the other way. It's funny how our minds play tricks on us like that. You would think it'd be easier, but sometimes it's even harder. So for example, if you play tennis and you're right-handed, and you wanted to learn tennis left-handed, it'd be very hard to do. But if you started out and you'd never learned tennis before, you could, with either hand, it'd feel the same pretty much. All right. I don't know how good an analogy that is, but maybe there's some truth to it. So let's go through the form. We're going to just sit up straight, tuck the chin in, relax. We're going to bring the arms out and up, fingers pointing down. Taking a deep breath in, bring the hands in and down and push. Bringing the palms in and up and open and close. Okay. And single whip. We're going to lean to the left. I'm sorry, lean to the right. And then back up to the left. Lining up on the left-hand side. Switch. And turn to the right. Switch. Turn to the left. Switch. Turn to the right. And now bring the lower hand up, turning forward to the front, and open and close. Brush knee right, fold the hands over, turn at the waist, rotating to the right, winding up on the right-hand side as we unwind from the waist, pushing into the chair with our left buttock. We block across and push and bring the left hand in and down to the hip. All right. And play the lute. We bring the upper hand down, the lower hand up, as if we're turning a wheel to the right. Turning the right hand up and the lower left hand down, we push and pull. Turning the palms over, push and pull, swiping the hands past each other. We make a fist with the lower hand, leaving the left hand open, pointing to the right, palm pointing to the right. As we punch up over that palm, the left palm, we parry across and punch. Turning the palms out at the wrists, pull in, elbows tucked down and back, calling block. Bring the palms down and push, try to push against that chair as if you're pushing down using the ground or your chair as a lever to push out. And this movement is slightly down and up. Hands relaxed. Bring the hands in and open and close. Okay, good. In the other direction, single whip, turn the palms out. lean to the right, single whip, draw to the left, switch, 1, cloud hands, left, 2, 3, from the lower hand up, rotate out to the side, facing forward, open and close. Okay, now that's 12 movements. We could stop here, or we could go on. If we go on, we're going to do another, we're going to do, let's see, I kind of lost my thread. I'm sorry, we haven't completed it. So we did cloud hands and open and close. And now we're going to do brush knee to the left, to the other side, right? Sweeping across, setting up on the left, right fingers touching the left elbow, looking at the left palm, turning to the left. We sweep across to block and we come out straight and push and play the loop. This time we're turning the wheel in the other direction. Nice and slow, right? Deflect 1, deflect 2, make a fist with the back left hand, leaving the right palm open. As we punch up over the palm, we parry across and punch up. Now this punch isn't like this punch with the eye down, with the heart of the fist down. It's with the eye of the fist up. And you can punch under or you can punch over. In either case, the parry is the same. And actually the punch is the same. You're just going over or under. Moving the hands up, draw back, calling block, drop the hands slightly and push out, rotating up, turning the hands facing each other, open and close. Pull to the left, get ready for another brush knee. Brush knee. Man leisurely tying the coat, turn the palms facing each other. Left palm to the right, right palm to the left. Pull the right palm up and out in an arc and forward as we draw the left palm back down and touch the fingers of the left fingers to the inside of the right palm. We turn the palm over like we're opening a book. We bring the book up under, into the chin. This is actually a move called monkey serving fruit. And we push out and strike, guiding the strike with the fingers of the left hand, and then rotating to the side, striking to the side, bringing the palm in, right palm in and up under the chin as we rotate around the finger attached to the right wrist, facing both palms out and push. So this movement looks like this. And opening the palms up and open and close. Okay. Single whip. Make a fist with the right hand. This is punch under elbow. Bring this right palm around, right fist around in an arc and back and set up to drive through the body line. As we block across or parry across with the left hand and punch under elbow. So now we're parrying or blocking a punch that's higher this time rather than here. It's higher, and that would make sense, right, to punch under. So in the first case, you're blocking a punch to the ribs. It's lower. So you're blocking it, punching over to the ribs or to the heart. In this case, you're blocking higher and punching lower, not up, but punching under like this. So it's the same flavor, but in the same application, but it's used in a different circumstance, right? Good example. of something you would use a lot, but you wouldn't use it the same way each time. So you use one would be done like this and the other would be done like this. All right, enough of that. So we're going to set up now for Repulse the Monkey, which is just like the last brush knee, only it has a feeling of grabbing and pulling and pushing, grabbing and pulling and pushing forward, throwing forward versus blocking and striking. But if the movement is the same, you set up the same way. And now we're ready to do the other side. So we're going to so we did so it's this we did one, right? We do one more on the other side, which is another another Repulse the Monkey, looking like brush knee, and then we do one more on the right side. So that's a total of 3, and that gets us set up for leisurely tying the coat on the other side, which is what we're going to do now. This time the left hand comes forward, and we attach the right hand fingers to the inside of the left wrist. Turn the palms over, up under the chin, good. Push out, striking out, guiding the strike with the right hand this time instead of left hand. Pulling to the left, coming up under the chin with the left palm, turning both palms facing out and pushing out. And again, this push isn't linear like this, it's down and out. And if you were using this, you would most likely do it this way, right? You would probably use this hand in the back to brace this hand as you're pushing forward to give that push. It's called a press, not a push, by the way, more force. All right. And so, but anyway, we do this. We bring the hands in and we open and close. All right. And then we end the Tai Chi by pushing the hands out and down. All right, so wow, it's 12:01. I guess we got through it. I wanted to practice it a couple of more times, but I'll just do it really quickly. So after punch under elbow, we do 1 repulse monkey, 2 repulse monkey, another another brush knee, and then we do movement here, and straightening out his clothes, coming in and push, bring the hands in and open and close. And all right, thank you all.
Thank you, Sifu. 恭喜發財。